Hello, everybody, and welcome back to First Drink Daily. I have no idea if the audio just played on that intro video, and if it doesn't, I have no idea why. But here we are.
I didn't hear it, but I often don't.
For those keeping, notes at home, XSplit decided not to remember any of the settings from when I loaded it yesterday, and so I had to rebuild all of it this morning because why not?
Software is magic. Black magic.
Yeah. Yeah, and according to Intel, hardware is also this magical fairyland of bugs and stuff. And
Yeah.
I feel like it's the fourth quarter and Intel is down like 700 points to 1 at this point. And then LeBron James just keeps dunking on Intel.
Look, I don't think this news is entirely unexpected, right? They've discovered another variant of the Spectre thing. It's not as serious as previous variants. Apparently, some of the mitigations that have already been put in place for variant 1 are effective, at least partially, against this new variants. They don't know of any exploits on the wild, And actually, I would say the good news here is, well, if you install and enable the fix, which will be coming via your PC Maker in a firmware update, and there'll be some software stuff in Windows too, you're going to see up to an 8 to 10% performance decrease. So hooray.
Yay.
The good news is, and this is actually, I was interested to read this bit, that enabling will not be on by default. It will actually, even though you'll get the software, it will be there installed. Mm-hmm. They're actually not going to enable it by default. And I think part of the rationale there is they feel pretty good about this thing not being exploited. And PC makers are expected to ship it disabled as well. And you as the user, the customer, whatever, will be able to enable it if you want to. If you don't feel safe or whatever, or if something happens in the future, you will be able to enable it. So, It's not all bad. It's just...
mostly bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
there's no good, I guess, but it's not. I don't know.
I made this joke on Twitter, but I think it's appropriate for this podcast. I just imagine that Intel execs are sitting around the boardroom and contemplating the fact that they can't make chips any faster. So the way they're going to produce some more chips is by making the old ones just slower.
Yeah, like they'll do performance comparisons, like it's X% faster than the previous gen, but what they'll be comparing it to is the previous gen with this thing enabled.
Yep.
Like it actually won't be any faster. But
yep, it's like comparing an Olympic athlete like 30 years post-prime to his former
yes.
self.
Michael Jordan was great when he played for Washington. I don't know what you mean. I know. We'd all like to pretend that never happened.
Oh, gosh. And then this actually came out of London. I think it was this morning. So if you watch the Google I.O., one of the cool things that they did was called Duplex, where they had a bot call a hair salon, which I need to make another point about that here in a second. And Microsoft said, we can do that too. And they took their, I believe it's Mandarin-speaking bot, something Zayo Ice. I butchered that, I guarantee it. And they did a very similar demo, but I believe it was in Mandarin. And said, look, yeah, we can press all the buttons too.
You know what though? I didn't see this Microsoft demo, and since it's in Mandarin, it's probably going to be a little less effective for me. But I think this neatly highlights that, when we talk about the differences between Google I/O and Microsoft Build, how they were in the same week, and which one was better, which one was more interesting. This is a great example of where. Just, I know there are complaints around the Google thing. Maybe it wasn't entirely true, or maybe they pieced together different calls to make a single call, whatever.
Right.
That's a great demo. It was widely popularized and publicized, and they were very clear, like, this is not ready yet, but this is where we're headed. And that's exactly the type of thing Microsoft should have done at Build. The fact that Microsoft had a demo just like that and didn't show it off at Build is pretty much everything you need to know over there when it comes to communicating what you're doing and trying to present something effective to the audience and to the wider world. I mean, it's just disappointing that they have, all these years go by and they just keep like tripping over themselves. Like, I don't understand why someone didn't raise their hand in the back of the room and say, guys, we got put the thing out there. It's awesome. We can be clear that it's not coming in the next version of Windows 10 or whatever. Like, it just give people something to be excited about.
Yep. And so they have all that technology. Not a big surprise. The other thing I was thinking about too is so these bot places calling whatever hair salons are great. The bigger point is here, at least for me mentally, is that I would never have called these places in the first place. If they don't have a website where I can book it online, I probably wouldn't go there anyways. I guess this is...
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I'm pretty...
Sure.
I need to be able to access it from the web, be like, look, here's my appointment, click, go.
Yeah. When you first said that, I thought to myself, like, oh, that's unfair. There's all these small businesses and blah, blah, blah. But actually, you know what? Like, how hard is it to throw up like a basic website? If you're a restaurant, here's the menu, Yep. And it is kind of astonishing how often this happens. And yeah, like I'm always a little suspicious even, if I want to look up the menu as a good example and they don't have their own site and I have to go, there are these third-party sites that kind of put menus up and it's like, what is this thing? Like, is this their current menu? Is this thing up to date? Yeah, it kind of makes you want to just skip it and go to the next one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So anyways, Microsoft clearly has the technology, the capability of doing it. As Paul pointed out, they should have done it, but they just didn't think of how awesome and great that would be to show off on stage.
Yes. No, instead, we got 90 minutes of some kind of save the world speech, which was amazing. I'm told. I don't know.
Yep. And anyways, quicker show today because I've got something to do this afternoon, which is not any fun, I promise. We got the Huawei MateBook X Pro first impressions, Paul.
Yeah, actually, I have another laptop, and I won't reveal what it is yet. But if you were looking for something a little more on the budget conscious side, I think the next one will be interesting to people. But the Huawei MateBook 10 Pro, I think it's called, or X Pro, whatever. It's awesome, and it's one of those things that's awesome the second you open it up and look at it. You're like, yikes, I think one of the things that's neat about, say, Microsoft Surface products is that it took them a couple of generations, but once they got to version 3 of Surface Pro, I'd say, they kind of adopted their own look and feel and kind of a style, and it's cool. I think most people would look at these things and be like, wow, this is really nice. And then there are established PC makers like Lenovo with the ThinkPad line in particular, HP with the Spectre line or the Elite line on the business side, whatever, where you just kind of look at these things and you can tell like this is nice. This particular machine takes a lot of styling cues from Apple's MacBook Pros, but it improves on everything. Like it's an aluminum design. It's gorgeous. It's space gray colored, which is hilarious because that's an Apple color name. The keyboard has got kind of a small throw, but it's not stupid like a butterfly keyboard on a MacBook Pro. It's actually a really nice keyboard. Big glass trackpad. Big round power button that doubles as a fingerprint reader, which is really cool. It has an edge-to-edge screen, which is 3x2. Perfect, right? 3000 by 2000, so it's kind of a 3K plus, or I guess a 3K display. It can be outfitted with 8 to 16 gigs of RAM, 256, 512 on the storage. Core i5 or i7. It's the quad-core latest generation, so it beats Apple and Microsoft on that note. And it comes with this, I don't have the machine in front of me, I apologize, but it comes with this really cool dongle, which has all of the video out and USB-C and USB-A out as well. And so this is it's almost a docking station, really. It's like a mini docking station. It's neat. The best part, well, not the best part, but the cool thing about this is everything I just described is awesome. But if you were to look at a Microsoft Surface laptop that kind of met these specs, which it doesn't exactly because the higher end version on the MateBook has discrete graphics, you would pay hundreds of dollars more. If you compare it to a MacBook Pro with similar specs, the MacBook Pro actually probably has better discrete graphics, but it is several $100s more expensive. It's not even close. The i5 version, 8 gigs of RAM, 256 storage is $1,200. And then the higher end version with i7, 16, and 512 and discrete graphics is 15 or 16. It might be 16, 15, somewhere in there. 13.5 inch Surface Book 2 with those specs, $2,200.
Yeah.
There is no comparable Surface laptop. I mean, it's kind of astonishing how awesome this thing is. And I don't mean to call that cheap. It's expensive. It's a premium device. But compared to its competitors, I don't think I have a comparison to make that's exactly the same. That has the same premium materials and the same kind of premium look and feel. It's gorgeous. And when you know, aluminum is a little heavy, but that heft has a feeling of solidity and a quality, and it does have that kind of premium nature. And when you know, it's cool to the touch. So it's basically all good news. The one little negative is that little tiny bezel they have all around. It's basically a 14-inch screen, 13.9 inch in a 13-inch body, full-size keyboard, etc. There's no camera up there, right? So unlike Dell puts this camera down. Well, actually, no, I guess it's in the middle. But on the XPS line, you know, they have the camera that's under the screen, which is terrible. These guys put it under a key. So if you think about like the top row of the keyboard, which is the function row, there's a dead key in the middle that doesn't light up or whatever. But when you press it, it pops open and it's a little camera. So it looks right up. Oops, I meant to take a screen. I didn't put this in the first impressions article. I will in the review, but it's the worst possible angle for anybody, especially if you jowly or you know, have nose hair or whatever. It's just unflattering, you know. So other than that, it's perfect. I mean, I could picture owning this thing. Yeah, look at that.
See, there's the key.
That's goofy.
Yep, right there.
But you know, what this reminds me of is what's happening now in the smartphone world, where companies are trying to go to these bezel-less designs. They want curved screen edges, and when you do that kind of stuff, well, how do you handle all the sensors and the camera that has to happen on the front of the device? And camera makers or phone makers rather do different things. Samsung prefers a little bit of a bezel at the top, gives them room for the sensors. Increasingly, we're seeing other companies like Apple started. Well, I don't know if they started it, but they're the big one that did it. Now all the Android guys are doing it. Is like having a notch that kind of protrudes into the screen. On the PC side, you have to kind of make a decision about the bezel. I think the right approach is to have just a little bit of a bezel at the top and have the camera there.
Yep.
And they didn't do that. So Lenovo does it right. HP does it right. Microsoft does it right. But these companies don't have as thin a bezel as this company does. And except for Microsoft, they also don't have 3x2 displays, which are perfect. They're just ideal for productivity. It's a gorgeous display.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the good thing is there's a remarkable amount of high quality choices these days when it comes to buying a laptop. And it's worth your while to explore all the brands, to be honest, at this point before you make a decision, because there's a lot of good stuff out there.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the kind of tech spec focused will point out that Apple and Microsoft for the most part don't have the new quad core parts that are available. I think the Surface Book 2 actually does have that part. And you know, fair enough. A Surface Pro, Surface laptop, previous gen chips, dual core. So you're kind of missing out on a bit of performance. You know, yeah. But the other thing these guys get right too, I look, everything's like a compromise. Like we know this is the dumbest thing you can say, you know, like any product is a compromise. Of course, yes, of course it is. But the decisions you make where to compromise, I think, are what makes a product good, bad, or indifferent. And, you know, these guys have dual USB-C. One of those is Thunderbolt 3. It's kind of goofy that they both aren't, whatever. Yeah. On the other side, they have full-size USB-A, you know, the full-size port. And a headphone jack, you know, which hasn't disappeared from computers yet, thank God. But to me, that's like the right mix of ports. You know, a Surface laptop that has one USB-A, and I think they probably have mini DisplayPort out, is, you know, it's okay. Surface Book 2 has 2 full-size USB. That's better. You know, obviously, what we want to see there is USB-C and Thunderbolt 3 as well. Surface Book 2 has USB-C. So, you know, they're kind of all circling the same. I almost said drain, the same target, and achieving that to some degree. I think HP does a better job at this than most. But Huawei, you know, they just kind of showed up with this thing, and it's amazing. It's a great kind of total package.
That's what I like to think about me. I'm a great total.
The total package. TheTotalPackage.com, Brad's personal site.
I wouldn't recommend Googling that personally, but
it's yeah, that could be the dark side of the web.
That could be a problem. Paul, before we wrap it up today, you got anything else?
Well, I do have that device, the other laptop. I'll probably do a first impressions of that, and I'm well on the way to finishing that Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus review I keep threatening to publish. Congrats. And I hate promising this, but I think I'll be able to get that done today. It's pretty close.
I'm going to go with probably not.
Spoiler alert, it's awesome. Yeah.
Well, I think that about wraps it up, folks. Here, hopefully we'll get some outro music. If not, I'll try to figure out why, but I make no promises about what is actually happening. I'll catch you next time.